Hello, footy fans, and welcome back to the Chip and Chase podcast Wednesday. But sad news, this is the last Wednesday. The last round of the NRL season is upon us, which means the last round of the 2024 Supercoach season is drawing to a close. At the conclusion of this round, it's been a really fun run, but all good things must come to an end. And now we can rest back, and as footy fans, we can look ahead to just the general NRL final series and how exciting the footy is going to be played there. And then look ahead to next year. It's never too early to start Supercoach planning for the next season, but we will be looking back at everything that was in round 26 and of course looking right ahead to round 27, the final round, and the trades that you can sort of make to elevate you up the ranks. Now, head-to-head finals are all down, and congratulations to all of you who have won those head-to-head finals. If you came in second, tough luck, but as I said, go ahead next year and go again. So let's get right into the episode this week. Once again, this one is up on YouTube. So if you are listening on an audio platform, head over to the YouTube channel, connect with us a bit better. I've got the face cam and got everything up on screen. It's just the best place to be. Once again as well, guys, for those of you who listen to or watch these videos, but don't tune in with the general NRL content that we do, we have a lot planned for over the off-season and especially heading into next season. So please do stick around. We're going to try and punch out as much as we can and try and engage with as much Supercoach content as we can. Of course, the off-season does make that a bit difficult, but definitely approaching the beginning of next NRL season, we will be looking at a lot more Supercoach stuff. So don't unsubscribe, don't unfollow, do stick around with us. We have a lot planned, and let me know what you guys want to see, and we can try and make that a reality. We aim to be a place for every NRL and rugby league and Supercoach / fantasy fan to enjoy. We definitely have a lot of Supercoach content coming next year, including a collaboration project, which I won't, spoil too much, but really exciting stuff. So I do highly encourage you all to stick around. Let's get into how we went in round 26. So as you guys can see, if you're watching on YouTube, the score of round 26 is up on screen. A score of 1,113. So yeah, pretty disappointing. Another poor week. Two back-to-back poor weeks has seen us dropped about 3,200 spots in 2 weeks. Another 1,647 drop this week has us down to a season rank of 8,638 now, which is pretty darn disappointing. We were pretty solidly entrenched in that top 5,000 overall. And yeah, we've dropped just a lot of spots recently. So yeah, we're going to try and make those up. One round to play. Don't have any trades left. I actually wish there was a bit more carnage coming into this round because I do have the depth to deal with that. But, there are going to be a lot of people who are also out there with zero trades like myself, but don't have the depth, or maybe the players that did get rested or injured, they had that I, did not. So hopefully this is a week that I can make some ground. If you are someone out there with trades, this is definitely a week you can make ground. So we'll be looking at those trades regardless, the best trades that you can make going forward for this final round. Not necessarily anything I can do, but we will look at those. But yeah, season rank 8,638 now, which has us in the top 5% of all players, a total score of 29,837. So yeah, much more we can touch on there. Let's go through, have a quick look at how our team did overall. Now, last week we did play without any hookers. So we had Jake Simpkin and Harry Grant as our hookers. Neither played. We played Jake Simpkin just so we had that extra week, or extra game, I should say, to potentially loop, because the Storm played the first game. So if I played Harry Grant, I couldn't use him as that free loop. It didn't really matter. We didn't end up looping. But yeah, Jake Simpkin and Harry Grant sitting there with those DNPs did not play for us. Into our front rowers, Adon Blake punched out a 74 against the Sharkies in a fantastic game that I was very lucky to be there to witness and see Shaun Johnson go out the way he did. If anybody jumped on Shaun Johnson as a bit of a pod that we outlined, lucky to you guys, he did punch out a 100+ score in his final NRL game. And it's poetic, to be honest. So that was really cool. But the 74 from Adon Blake in his last game for the Warriors, because that was the Warriors' last game of the season. Happy to have that. We'll have to see how he goes for the Sharkies next year and whether or not we look to purchase him again. But he's done a great job for us this year. Fantastic job for us last year. So, yeah, love that from AFB. Jack DeBellin, we played up front row. Curran coming off the bench and Terrell May coming off the bench. With Curran's injury, I was a bit iffy on him and whether or not to play him. Terrell May hadn't been producing many great scores, so I went with JDB. He punched out a 54, so pretty darn good, but it wasn't, massively different to the rest. We had a 52 from Curran, so could have just ran with that. The big one that we actually missed out on, which, who would have thought, Terrell May punched out 86 points from the bench, so probably going to be looking to play him this week. Who would have really thought? He was never going to cross my mind as someone I played last week, despite Jared Hargraves' suspension. But now with the Roosters injuries and whatnot, I think I will be looking to lean on Terrell May for this final round. So I'm happy to still own him. It's a shame we didn't get a play at that 86 though. Into the second row forwards, Angus Crichton, 57. Pretty disappointing. He has been relatively disappointing since owning him in this second stint. Now, he's had a couple of decent scores in there, and 57 by no means is a bad score, but for someone of his caliber, I do want him punching higher, especially against a team like the Raiders. With the utmost respect to the Raiders, I thought he could go a bit bigger, but the Raiders turned up. They defended their absolute backsides off, and they were fantastic. So 57 points, we'll just take it. 51 from Britton Nicotar as well. See, I'm a bit less disappointed in Britton Nicotar's scores because he's a lot more attack reliant than Angus Crichton. He doesn't get through as much work, but 51 points we take. 41 from David Fafita was the stinger in our second row department. That wasn't a massive difference. If we played Homole Olakawatu over him, it's a 17-point difference. So nothing drastic that really saves my season. But yeah, Fafita, he's had a few stinkers and he has not been named this week. He's going under for some surgery, season-ending surgery. So that's one of the little dominoes to fall this week, and one of those big players that a lot of people own that finally drops out, which we can use the depth. We have the depth to accommodate that. I'm hoping a lot of people out there don't. With the utmost respect to you guys, I really want to make some ground in this final round. So yeah, 41 from Fafita, not ideal. 53 from Beau Fermor, who we did play. So this is what baffles me, right? Looking at this game and watching it, Beau Fermor was an absolute weapon, and David Fafita was just there. And there's only a 12-point difference in their scores, so I can't really make sense of it too much. I thought Fermor should have been pushing near 70 in base. He was unbelievable. I guess he didn't make as many tackles in centre, but yeah, 53 points in general, we're pretty happy with. He was a late switch to the centre position, which wasn't ideal for us. But yeah, didn't really change how much work he got through. In fact, I think he got through even more work at centre than he usually gets through at second row. So we're happy with that. Molly Olakawatu, 58. We did not play him in that matchup against the Bulldogs. Turns out we should have. He was the highest scoring second rower out of my team. So should have played him, but it's all hindsight. It's not too much of a difference. And Viliami Fafita, our nuff, did not play. Into the halfbacks. The pain here of Sam Walker, 8 points. Now, we can cop it to an extent. I'm not happy about it, but I do think that a lot of people brought him in this week or last week when Cleary went down. So a lot of people use their trades to get him in, and then you cop an 8 score, an ACL injury, which we never want to wish on any player, and it sucks that I owned him in Supercoach and that happened. But it's the sort of carnage that we do need to fall our way in Supercoach. Would have loved it to just been a head knock or a resting or something. Not necessarily a season-ending injury, but hey, it's footy. Sometimes that happens. But 8 points from him, definitely not great, but a lot of people would have been in that boat. 63 points from Daly Cherry Evans, who we did give one of our reserves, so we copped that. Pretty happy with that. Wasn't expecting a massive amount against the Bulldogs, but to punch that out was a good little return for us, so happy to own that. And he will be our starting halfback for the final round of the season. Jaden Campbell, 86. He updated pretty decently, but even beyond the updates, he just scored quite well in the final 15, 20 minutes of that game. So really happy for that. He's had a few sort of slower scores and lower points there, but to get this one, 86, pretty happy. It's making the purchase of him feel a lot better. He does come up against the Panthers this week, though, so I don't know. We'll have to look whether or not we play him or not, but 86 points. Can't ask for a massive amount more. Jai Gray, 33. We didn't play him in his matchup, but whether or not we play him against who have they got, Roosters this week, remains to be seen. Still pretty happy with that purchase overall. Into the centre wings. Now, Valentine Holmes did get a vice-captain for us. He only scored 59. He actually downgraded to that, which I thought was abysmal. I didn't go back and have a look at who got the line break assist in his own try, but I don't know how it works. I really, really hate Fox Sports stats. I think they're I'm not going to remain no profanity, but I think they're abysmal. I think Fox Sports' stats are the most biased and stupid stats under the sun, even without Supercoach. Going off Fox Sports for stats, it blows my mind. But he should have had the line break in his own try. Sorry, line break assist in his own try when he actually passed the ball to Murray Tolangi, who broke the line on the wing and then passed back inside for Holmes to score. That should have been a line break assist and a try. I don't think he got anything for that besides, the 17 points for a try. Regardless, I wouldn't have looped him even if he did get that, but it would have been nice to get those extra points. Cal Ito, 61 points. Cal Ito getting 61 with a sin bin is pretty crazy, and then Valentine Holmes, who I thought was really good, getting less than that without a sin bin. It's just, that's Fox Sports for you. It's ridiculous how stupid their stats are, but 61 points from Ito will take. Dominic Young, 31. This one was a bit baffling. Roosters, of course, with everybody loaded up on Roosters. We expected them to put the sword through most teams in the back end of the competition. Against the Raiders, they couldn't score anything, and the only player who did was the other winger in Daniel Tupou, who has been amazing these past couple of weeks. Shout out Leaves for really, really wanting him and then not buying him, because that's a tough pill to swallow, to be honest. But yeah, 31 from Dom Young, not great. 132 from Ruben Garrick, however, is very great. I know there were people out there that sat him this week. He was someone I was toying with, but I didn't have many other options that weren't more Seagulls players themselves. So I ended up playing him, and thank God I did, because it was the biggest score in my week, one of the biggest scores of the round. So love that from Ruben Garrick. Moving to my bench centre wings, Jesse Ramian did not play with that suspension. Greg Marju, 39. Very disappointed in that. Bradman Best, he did not pass the football. They went, fair enough. The Knights went right the majority of the game, and, Fletcher Sharp was the beneficiary of that. And that's tough already, because I want them to be going left to Greg Marju. But even the times that they did go left, Bradman Best has glue on his hands. Just kept running the footy, never passed the ball, and it was very frustrating. So 39 points from Marju and base would take. But God, I want some attacking stats in this final week, because I feel like we deserve that. Casey McLean didn't play as well. Moving into our fullbacks, we did put the captain on Callum Ponga, and thankfully for that, he did punch out 118, so we doubled that to 236, if my math serves me correct, which is a good score. A lot of people went for Trebojevich's, who didn't go that great. Finally, Trebojevic going low in the scoring tally, and then also he will miss his final week, which is finally justice for us. Unfortunately, what isn't justice is Dylan Edwards, 35 points. We went him over as our pod over Tedesco and Trebojevic, and even with Trebojevic's, missing last game, there's every chance Trebojevic scored more in his 1 week 2 weeks ago against the Tigers than Edwards will score in the 3 weeks that I've owned him. So, not ideal. I'm hoping for a big game from him in this final one. Hopefully that injury is finally settling down. The fact that they've named him at all leads me to believe that he's getting pretty well. I also saw some training footage going out, and he looked to be moving pretty well and pretty happily. So hopefully we can get a good score from Dylan Edwards to finish things off, because mainly the James Tedesco factor is the annoying one. He punched out another ton with no attacking stats, and I was looking at it as well. He was great, don't get me wrong, but I don't know where Fox Sports get their stats from, because it was ridiculous. But hopefully we can get a bit more from Dylan Edwards in this final round, and it can skyrocket us the way that Tolutau Kula skyrocketed us last year. But that's how the team lined up. Let's do a quick run through of the NRL team list of round 27. Try and go through all of the ins and outs of this week. Starting with the Broncos and Storm. Now for the Broncos, Katoni Staggs is out, which means Selwyn Cobbo moves to the centres and Corey Oates goes into the wing. Fletcher Baker goes to front row with Payne House left out. Brandon Piakora is out. Jaden Hunt starts. And Xavier Willison is out with Kobe Hetherington onto the bench. Nothing massive Supercoach there. I don't suppose too many people are owning Stags, and I don't suppose too many people own Haas anymore. For the Storm, though, massive ones here, because there's a lot of players coming back. Now, the main out for them is that Ryan Pappenhausen did do, I think it's bone bruising coming out on his leg. So he misses the game at fullback, and Suafar Longo takes over at fullback. But Jerome Hughes, Will Warbrick, Nick Meaney all return. Xavier Coates is also in the reserves, or is he actually started? No, Xavier Coates is in the reserves, so he might be playing Again, not too relevant there. Nelson Asofa Solomona, Harry Grant, Josh King, Sean Bloor, Eli Katoa, Trent Liero, all back as well. And Tyron Wishart, Christian Welch, and Alec McDonald all go to the bench. So Eli Katoa, those of you who own him, massive for you. The other ones in there for me is Harry Grant and, of course, Jerome Hughes. A lot of people, if you have trades left, will be looking to get a final halfback in for that Sam Walker thing. And Jerome Hughes against a pretty awful Broncos side is definitely a great shout, but I'm just happy to have Harry Grant back. God damn. Let's move into the next game, though. The Spoon Bowl, the West Tigers and the Parramatta Eels. And our Tigers coming off the bye, so, I mean, technically their entire team is different. Heath Mason is still at fullback. Josh Fellerty comes into the centres with Junior Tupou moving to the wing and Solomon Alamalo dropping out. Aiden Caesar has been named at halfback. None of those are too relevant to Supercoach, though. For the Eels, are there any changes to them? Sean Lane named to start at prop again. Whether or not he moves to second row, we'll have to see. Kelma Talangi also coming back into the side after missing last week. Again, not too relevant. Sean Russell. Where's Sean Russell? Is he playing in this one? Yeah, Sean Russell's also returning. Not relevant, though. Rabbitohs versus Roosters. For the Rabbitohs, not too many ins and outs. Cody Walker returns for them. Taylor Duncan's named at lock forward, but is wearing number 8 to honour... I can't remember. I shouldn't have even brought that up. Might be Bob Fulton. Might be. Don't quote me, but I'm going to say it's Bob Fulton. But Jack Whitney is out for the Rabbitohs. Not too much else there. For the Roosters, the big injuries of last week have come in. So Sandon Smith takes over at halfback with Sam Walker out with the ACL injury. Connor Watson moves to hooker with Brendan Smith out with an ACL injury. And Nafahu White starts at lock with Nat Butcher out with concussion. Satili Tupanua starts at back row for Victor Radley, who is out for the season with a shoulder injury. The other ins and outs, Suali'i comes back into the side. Michael Jennings goes to 18th man. And that is about... and Junior Ponga comes in for Daniel Tupou, who is being rested. Damn, I didn't actually notice that one until just now. Okay, maybe not a massive sucked in to Leaves who didn't buy Tupou, because that's a little bit of reprieve for him. For the Dragons and the Raiders. The Dragons, they've moved Jack Bird back into the centres for Max Fianay, who was out. Leakin King Tongia starts at 5'8" for, as I said, Jack Bird, who moved into the centres. Not much else going on there. Connor Mullheisen, who started at hooker last week, is on the bench with Jacob Little named at 9. So if you did go Little and you did hold on even after news that he wasn't going to be playing, could mean he gets a spell in this one, but we'll have to see. Realistically, they need a lot of things to go their way and make the top 8. They need to beat the Raiders to start, but then they also need a draw from the... the Dolphins and the Knights. So, they're going to do their best to get a win, but they do still need a few things to fall their way. Same goes for the Raiders, who they're up against. They welcome Ethan Strange back into the side at 5'8", and Jamal Fogarty back at halfback, which is massive to them. Kale Weeks moves to fullback with Jordan Rapana, who is out with that fractured cheekbone. In their forward pack, Simi Sasangi starts at second row for Elliot Whitehead, who was out suspended. So those two players, that's Rapana and Whitehead, playing their last games for the Canberra Raiders. So that's a bit disappointing, but at least they got a win in their last game. Beyond that, not a whole lot. Bulldogs and Cowboys up next. The Bulldogs have Drew Hutchison coming in at 5'8", with Matt Burton out with concussion. Jacob Kiraz keeps his spot in the centres, even with Stephen Crichton's return, because Bronson Jerry is out suspended as well. Not too much else for them. For the Cowboys, is there a whole lot going on here? No, they've got named essentially the exact same 17. Panthers and Titans up next. Not really a whole lot going on for the Panthers either. Scott Sorensen returns, but not Supercoach relevant. And the Titans, Keanu Keeney starts at fullback, so if somehow you still own him, that's a little reprieve for you. Both of them are fully named at centre this week. Chris Randall and Cleese Haas are the starting second rowers, and as we mentioned earlier, David Fafita is out for the season, well, for the final game, which is the season. So that is the slightest bit of carnage that we wanted from this final round of the season. Would have liked a lot more. Seagulls and Sharkies up next. Tolotau Kula starts at fullback for Tom Trebojevic, who is out injured. This is really good. Love that Tom Trebojevic is out for a Supercoach perspective. Interesting that they've named Cooler at fullback, considering Lehigh Hopewate is essentially an out-and-out fullback on the wing. The other thing that's interesting is, why wouldn't they just move Tommy Talau to the wing, Lehigh to fullback, and then Cooler into centre, which is essentially all of their best positions, or Tommy Talau to wing and Clayton Fualalo, who comes in for Jason Saab, because Clayton Fualalo, to my understanding, is a centre. When I watched him last season in the reserve grade, he was a centre. So a few weird options there from the Seagulls, but there's no certainty to line up the way that they've been named, but not massively relevant. Of course, Tom Trbojevic being out is the massive one. Tolotau Kula, if you want to go him at fullback, he seems to always go well there, but he does go up against the Sharks this week, who are a really good defensive outfit, so do that with some caution, but he's always worth a look in, Cooler at fullback, and, I'd do the same because I owned him last season. For the Sharkies, Jesse Ramian comes back at centre after his suspension, which is fantastic. Is there a whole... Ronaldo Militalo also back in the team on the wing with Sam Stonestreet out of the side. Their forward pack remains the same. The interchange, Daniel Atkinson moves to the bench. So they've gone with Trindle and Hines in the halves, but Atkinson still gets a spot in that bench. And Braden Hamlin-Welle drops to the reserves. CSF Talakai also among the reserves, so we'll have to see if he makes his way into the side. Let's get into the final game of the Sunday, or of the round in general. The Knights and the Dolphins. This is the final game, isn't it? Yeah, Knights and Dolphins to finish things off. For the Knights, nothing really named, and why would you? They're on a bit of a rich vein of form, so I love that for them. For the Dolphins, they've elected to go with the same side that they ended up with last week. Now, it wasn't the side that they named last week because there were mass changes to that, so we'll read through real quick. Trey Fuller is at fullback. Hamaso Tabuai Fido got moved to the centres. Jake Avarillo got moved to 5'8". The young fella Isaiah Katoa got dropped from the side. Sean O'Sullivan at halfback. Herbie Farnworth also switched to right centre, so Hamaso will be playing on the left. Tavita Pangai Jr. starts at front row. Felice Kofusi, Connolly Lemuelo are the back rowers. Kenny Bromwich at lock, and their interchanges JMK returning from injury last week, Ray Stone, Mark Nichols, and Cody Nikorima. So interesting to note that they do have a utility in Cody Nikorima and a hooker in Jeremy Marshall-King, but you'd assume as soon as Jeremy Marshall-King goes to hooker, Max Plath just turns into another forward, so it shouldn't matter all too much. And that is how the teams line up for round 27, the final round. Let's look at trades. Now, as we mentioned, we can't do trades ourselves, but we'll still have a look at the most traded in and out players and give a quick little analysis of them. So the most traded, let's start with traded out players. Tom Trbojevic, number one, makes sense. You've got $1 million sitting in your cap. If you do have a trade left, you get him out and you bring in just any option. Now, if it's pretty easy to choose, because if you own Tom Trbojevic and James Tedesco, or Tom Trbojevic and Kalen Ponga, you just go to whichever one of those fullbacks that I just mentioned that you don't own. So Tedesco or Ponga, essentially. But there are other options, especially things that we will look at in our pod section. Essentially, most teams at the moment will be equipped with at least one centre wing / fullback duel in their side. Ruben Garrick and Kale Ito are the main ones that come to mind. You can sell Tom Trbojevic, move one of them to fullback, and bring in a pod centre wing, which is something that we will take a look at in our pod section. But are they going to be better than a Tedesco or Ponga who you don't own? Maybe not. I do think Tedesco and Ponga will probably be the best two to own for this final game if you have a trade to get rid of Trbojevic. If you don't, tough luck, but that's what I really need to fall my way. Second most traded, Sam Walker, makes all the sense in the world, out as well. You can move him on to another good halfback there. Jerome Hughes is one of those that comes to mind. Maybe even a Dylan Brown if you don't own, because he's got a great matchup and was amazing last week. Jerome Luai as well has looked really good. So those are all good shouts there. And Fanua Blake, the next most sold on the buy. So once again, all these players essentially just players who are out. Matt Burton. With Aden Fanua Blake though, let's just quickly touch on it. It's an interesting one. I'd only sell if you have a heap of trades left and you need to. If you have no other front row forward options. But in saying that, if you can cop an AE in the front row forward position and then get a score from anywhere else in your squad, might be worth doing because front row forward's not all that great anyway. But yeah, if you got a few trades, I suppose you can do that. Matt Burton, the next most traded out. Yeah, I mean, these are all players who are injured, so you can't really debate them, or injured or, suspended or on the bye. So you can't really debate them being trade out targets. They all make sense. Dave Fafita, the next most traded out. So I'm not going to comment too much on them. The most traded in, Callum Ponga and James Tedesco are 1 and 2, who we already mentioned. Jerome Hughes 3 and Dylan Brown 4. All of those 4 players we just mentioned in players to bring in. Joseph Tarpany 5, so that'd be the man that people are looking at for Adam Fanua-Blake, which I don't hate. But again, I just don't want to be using trades on front row. And Nicho Hynes, the 6th most traded in. Now, he does have a decently hard matchup against the Seagulls, but it is also Nicho Hynes, so I don't mind that. In fact, I'd probably still take him over any other halfback as a trade-in target for Sam Walker. Now, let's look at the pod buys that I have put up over on the Instagram. So once again, if you're just listening on audio platform and you can't see what we have up on screen, the best place to be here is to head over to the Instagram. If you can, pull it up on your phone. You can read through all these stats. I haven't written too much about these players this time, just sort of a congratulations to all of you for your head-to-head finals. But the players that we have identified are Paul Alamotti, Herbie Farnworth, and Will Penasini. So I'll just quickly scroll through them, and you can see all the stats and information up on screen. That is really important. And once again, you can see it on the Instagram if you're looking that way. But Paul Alamotti is one that I do really like. Getting that goal kicking over Dylan Edwards is massive. They come up against the Titans, who have been awful. He's only 511,000, so he's got decent. He's at a decent price point. Really good base, goal kicking. I really like it. I think the Panthers put a decent score on here, and I think he is a massive, massive in. So he's one of those pod options that we outlined. If you just have trades to bring pods in at this end of the season, or if you're looking to sell Tom Trbojevic and you want to go something a bit different, move Garrick or Ito or one of those centre wing fullback duels down to fullback, and bring in someone like Paul Alamotti, who I think could be unreal. Next up, Herbie Farnworth. This one sort of speaks for itself after his 160-odd performance last week. I assume they're going to keep that similar vein of form. He will be marking up against Bradman Best. Both Newcastle centres are pretty good in Bradman and Dane Gagai, but you can only really stop Herbie Farnworth so much. The way that the Dolphins utilised him, I think he's going to be insane. So I really like him. Also a base of 36, so he can't go low, but definitely, you just saw the upside in him. Definitely someone to look at. And lastly, we went with Will Penasini. Now, there are a few options. I really like the Parramatta Eels versus Tigers matchup. Now, I went with Penasini, purely matchup focused. I believe he will be up against Feladi's Edge, not the other center who I can't remember, Solomon Fatape. Either way, no matter who he's up against, I think they're good matchups for Penasini. I think he will really put the sword to those young, inexperienced centers of the Tigers. So I really like him. You can, of course, go for Micah Sevo, who's another low-owned option. They always like going to the left, and he scores a few tries coming off a hat-trick himself. I think Eels are going to be really good players to target. You can even go for Blaise Langi, but I don't really rate Blaise Langi. At least Penasini has some base about him. So I went with Will Penasini, another man who we've already identified in our pod, so we didn't do it again. Clint Gutherson is an option for those looking to sell Tom Trbojevic. As we said, I think the Eels against that Tigers, I think it's going to be a close game. I'm hoping it's a close game, and I hope the Tigers win, but I'd be very scared of the Eels boys going up against that Tigers side. So Clint Gutherson is another really good option. But those are our 3 pod players. Once again, as I said, those stats are up there. I haven't read through them because they're there for you guys to see. Look at them and reassess when you are making your trades. Now, of course, when it comes to my trades, we mentioned we cannot do any. So essentially, right now, we just move straight into the Sit v Start section of my podcast. So, starting up with Harry Grant comes back in at hooker, which is fantastic. Jake Simpkin, you've served me well in a few different aspects, whether it's playing or being a loop opportunity. You get to sit down another week. And Fanua-Blake out means we're going to start Terrell May over Josh Curran. We're going to keep Jack de Belin as a playing player. I think he has to play massive minutes in this fight against the Raiders. I think it's going to be very physical through the middle, and that's where I think Jack de Belin shines. So I like playing him. I think I'd take Terrell May just based on that 86 score. He might score less than Curran, but in the end, I don't think it'll be too much of a difference. Second row position, David Fifita is obviously out, so Olakawatu comes in a straight switch for him. So we're still sitting with Angus Crichton, Brenton Nikota, Homolo Olakawatu as our starting second rows. And at the moment, we have a reserve on Beau Fermor, but we'll get to reserves in a second. Sam Walker, another man out, means we put Daly Cherry Evans into the starting spot. We'll take that reserve off Walker for now. 5'8", interesting. Jaden Campbell or Jai Gray. Now, I don't really like either of these matchups. I mean, Titans against Panthers at Bluebet, it's not really for me. I do think they're going to run a bit through Jaden Campbell as well. At the same time, he did find a good bit of form at the end. I just think without Dave Fifita there, does he really have the artillery near him? In saying that, Jai Gray against the Roosters, I think I am going to play Jai Gray, but not set on that one. I'm assuming they both go relatively low this week, so it might not be all and end all of my team, but we'll play Jai Gray this week instead of Jaden Campbell. Who knows? Jaden Campbell could get a reserve, but I'm hoping I have better options than Jaden Campbell this week. Centre wings speak for themselves. Val Holmes, Cal Ito, Dom Young, and Ruben Garrick will all sit there and stay. Jesse Ramian, however, coming back from suspension, will get a reserve for me. Greg Marju, we will keep with the reserve despite the fact that the Knights haven't really been going left. I just think it's just worth it. He's going to score 40 regardless, or 35 in base. Has the potential for a couple good attacking stats and to get a nice score out of him. So he will keep a reserve. The fullbacks, Kalen Ponga, we will keep him. We'll probably captain him in that last game against the Dolphins. It's in Newcastle, Knights playing for their season. That's where my captain will probably lie, and Dylan Edwards will get my final reserve. So my reserves are Dylan Edwards, Greg Marju, Jesse Ramian, and Beau Fermor. I could play Jaden Campbell. I could play Josh Curran, but I don't want to. So that's where we're sort of sitting for the final round of the season, and we're pretty happy with that. Let's look at captains, and we'll run through every game. Broncos and Storm to kick things off. Storm players are options, as VCs. Jerome Hughes and Cameron Munster specifically. Maybe even if you owned a Nick Meaney, that'd be pretty rogue, but you could vice captain him and hope that he gets a good amount in. In kicking stats, also think he snags a cheeky try this week as well, Nick Meaney. Tigers and Parramatta's, Tigers and Eels. If you own Eels players, they're worth a shout. If you own Tigers players, they're definitely not. You could do a Lockie Galvin, but it's pretty rogue. Eels players, I'd be looking at vice captaining any of those pods that I mentioned, a Penasini or a Sevo. If you own a Gutherson, I'd vice captain him as well, or at least he's worth a look in. Rabbitohs Roosters are up next. I think this is where most captains or vice captains will fall. You'd still be looking at a James Tedesco all day, every day. It does suck that the Roosters, no longer have a Sam Walker to get those goals, and you can't look at him as an option. You could look at a Angus Crichton as a VC. Something I'm actually interested in. I might sit the VC on Angus Crichton for now and see how we go with that. But Dom Young, potentially, but he's gone too low too often recently, so I wouldn't be looking at that. James Tedesco, probably the best captain and vice captain shout, to be honest. Then we have Dragons and Raiders. Look, to be honest, there's no one in this game you'd really look at. Zach Lomax probably has the high ceiling, and I still wouldn't really want to look at him, but he's an option. Bulldogs, Cowboys, no one there that I'm really looking at. Panthers, Titans, not really much here. Paul Alamotti, I love as a shout. If you bring in Paul Alamotti, I'd actually rate captaining him. If Dylan Edwards had goal kicking, I'd do it despite him being injured, but he doesn't, so he's just getting a reserve spot for me. But yeah, I do like that matchup for Paul Alamotti. No one else that I really look at. Isaiah Yeo could be a shout. I mean, he's picked up some really good scores as of late, really high scores. And even when he's not scoring 100 plus, he's going 70 in base. So Isaiah Yeo could be a really good shout to finish the season. Seagulls and Sharkies. No Tom Trebojevic hurts that captain option, but hey, I'm living for that. Ruben Garrick is an option, but I don't want to target players in this matchup. I'd target more Sharks over I would Manly, because I know Sharks have a better defense than the Seagulls. So you could look at a Nico Hines if you brought him in, and that's about it. I wouldn't be looking at Ramians or Idos or Nikodas, and there's not too many other options that you could probably own. And then finally, the Knights and the Dolphins. We mentioned Kalen Ponga. That will be where my captain sits. I think it's one of the better options of the week. But it's still the Dolphins. The Dolphins aren't a write-off. They're fighting for a top 8. Whoever wins this game essentially gets that final top 8 spot. Actually, no, they do get this. Whoever wins does get the final top 8 spot. But I do think Callum Ponga's an option. If you believe in a Herbie Farnworth, go rogue and do it. I mean, this is the point of the season. If you're sitting in where I am, 8,000th, or you're sitting lower, there's no problems with going anything rogue. You may as well bank on something weird happening and hope it does. So maybe I'll switch things up and go for something odd, but for now we'll just sort of stick with Callum Ponga and see how we go. But that wraps us up for the captain options, and that wraps us up for the Supercoach season, this podcast, and yeah, the 2024 NRL Supercoach season. So thank you guys for really tuning in. It's been a massive learning curve this entire year. We've really jumped into all of my podcasts, all of my page, everything without an idea, just passion, and we've learned a lot along the way. We're going to be a lot better for next year. It's not going to be this sort of content and just, me talking to a screen and talking to you guys and talk about my team. We will have collaboration stuff going on, expecting to do an entire new series with someone else who's quite big in the content community. So I'm really excited for that sort of stuff, guys. But those of you who have tuned in and found this stuff engaging and liked and left comments and whatnot, I appreciate you guys, and I really do. So thank you guys for joining me for this entire first season. Good luck in the final week, and see how far you can get yourself up those ranks. And yeah, we'll be back next season. Hope you guys stick around and tune in then. So thank you guys for tuning in for this one, and I'll see you guys next time.